Today on Electrifying, we're going to pit the brilliant MG4 against the upstart Ora Funky Cat.
Yep, we're keeping things nice and simple. 2 electric hatchbacks, but only 1 winner.
So which one would you choose? Please do let us know in the comments and do us a favour and like and subscribe.
Otherwise, I'll be around to find out why you haven't.
So, MG4 versus Ora Funky Cat, both 5-seat, 5-door, pure electric hatchbacks that seem to offer very similar things on paper. This is an MG4 SE Long Range, which is about £28,500.
Interesting, because this is the first edition Funky Cat.
Yep.
It's actually the only one that is available right now. And it's a fiver under £32,000. So I'm already seeing 3.5 grand's worth of issues at the moment, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, there is quite a lot to get through. So do you want to just walk me through the Cat first?
Yes, I will. Okay, so as a reminder, this is the first edition Funky Ora Cat, and we have actually done the first drive of this. I did the review, so there's loads of details already out. If you haven't seen it already, make sure you check it out. But this has a 48 kilowatt hour battery and a WLTP range of 193 miles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that is going to be difficult to defend, but you will have your moment in a minute, Swookie. As standard, though, on this, you get the LED headlights, very nice. 18-inch alloys, also very nice. You get this two-tone colourway as an option.
Right.
And overall, I quite like the styling. I mean, yeah, it's not original, it has been seen before, but I like the way it looks.
You have always quite liked it.
I have.
I just think it caught sight of its own reflection in the morning and just was a bit surprised. So, whoa!
Is that what happens to you every morning?
This, on the other hand, is an MG4 SE Long Range. It's got a slightly bigger battery at 61.7 kilowatt hours, which gives you a much larger WLTP range than the Ora Funky Cat at 281 miles. That's 88 more miles on the official test cycle.
Good maths,
Yes.
but you are correct.
I did the math previously. It was all I had to sort that out in my own head. Though this is the SE, so it's the slightly less well-equipped version, but it does get LED headlights all round. It gets 17-inch alloy wheels. It's a little bit longer and wider than the Ora Cat, but it's a lot lower. It's about 100mm lower, so it does look a little bit more sporty to me. I think it looks nicer. Which one do you prefer?
I think I'm slightly just veering towards the Ora Cat, only because it's a bit more fun. It's kind of cute. I think it's a bit of a head turner. This is a bit safer. It's more adult, more grown up. It's like your sort of traditional family car, whereas that I think you can have a bit more fun in.
It's MG4 all day for me. I think that looks like it's trying a bit too hard, which is a bit scary. But, you know, that before it threatens me with cancellation, that is an opinion, and you'll have to make your own minds up. So, this is the MG4.
Yeah.
I actually quite like it, but I do feel it's a little bit business-like. It's quite dark. You've got like a squarish driver's information display that's 7 inches right in front of you, and then a separate 10.25-inch display here. Some quite chunky buttons underneath, which are actually quite useful because I've got big fingers.
Yeah. I mean, overall, it's just, I think it's a bit more basic. It's more serious.
Serious is a good word, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just not very fun, I don't think. Which again is fine. It's more like, okay, this is what I would, if I was putting on my, like, you know, black suit or black leather jacket.
Serious face.
I would step inside the black interior of my car. Are there any options to change it, or is it always all black?
There are different colourways, but this is for an SE, this is basically what you get. There's this shelf thing here. In the Trophy version, which is slightly more expensive, that's a wireless charging pad. In the SE, that is just a shelf. And it's got these little holes that go, you can put your charging cords through.
Horrendous. They're
I don't
so
mind
messy.
them. They're not, though.
They're weird.
If you put them in
No, they
properly
look weird.
and do it properly, it's fine. But
No,
I
it
feel
looks
like this
weird.
has got
You would hope
a lot
just
of...
hope for wireless charging.
But you do get that on the Trophy.
Yeah, but the only issue is, I mean, do you get heated seats? Do you get heated steering
On the
wheel?
Trophy, you do, yeah.
What other things do you get on the Trophy?
Basically everything you get on the Ora Cat.
So basically you want to get the Trophy.
Yeah.
And
But you know the best bit about the Trophy?
well, yeah, the Trophy comes in at 500 quid less than the Ora Cat.
Yeah, it does.
You get heated leathery seats and a heated wheel, as well as sat-nav and wireless charging on the Trophy spec. But you get an app, an MG Pilot, which includes all the usual advanced driver assistance systems, and it's got all the safety kit to give it a full 5 stars on the official Euro NCAP safety tests, so that's all good. And all MG4s get vehicle to load as standard, so you can charge and use household appliances from your car.
I think it's more business-like. I think it's got better storage. I'm not sure.
The only thing I'm also going to point out, where the gear selector is, it just annoys me a bit where it's not where I would put my hand. Because I would rest my arm here and then...
How long are your arms?
Like, short enough that I wouldn't...
You have actually got quite... Put your arm up like this. See, you really have got quite short arms.
Not much in
but
it.
that 3 inches makes
Bearing
all
in
the
mind
difference.
how tall you are. You're like above average height.
5'8".
No, I'm 5'8". So actually, I'm above average height. Although, to be fair, I do have quite short arms compared to my legs.
You're like a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
But anyway, the point is, put your arm down and you want the gear selector there.
I think that's all fine. It's basically Nicki that doesn't get it right. And look, there's plenty of storage in here. I feel like there's more storage in here than anything else.
Hang on.
Has it got a glove box? Yes, it has got a decent glove box. And there's a lot of things about this car that feel like they're fit for purpose, if not particularly stylish.
Spec for spec, the MG is always cheaper and bigger. There's plenty of room in the back, and the boot is a generous 363 litres or 1,177 with the seats folded down, and that's actually pretty good. But is the Ora Cat better? Let's find out.
Ta-da.
It's quite nice.
It is really nice, isn't it? I think this is the one area where the Ora Cat actually wins, kind of hands down, over the MG. Sorry, hope you agree with me here.
I do think it looks good.
Yes, right. Because it's just the attention to detail, the styling, the design. I think it works really well. Also, I love how the two-tone that's on the outside is also reflected on the inside.
Yeah, around the band.
And everything, there's nothing, you know how normally you get in a car and you feel like, oh, everything feels a bit plasticky or a bit cheap. Actually, I think it has a nice feel to it. You've got the quilting here,
and
in the
it's
doors,
on the back of the seats as well.
The seats,
some nice detail.
The leather seats, really nice detail. There's kind of like pinstripey plastic in the middle here.
That. That's a little bit plasticky. And you know down here where they've got a couple of USB chargers and that 12 volt, that's a big lump of plastic in the middle and it's got nothing on it. So it just looks a bit bare.
True, although I quite like it because it's in the lighter colour. It's not just like a big piece of black plastic, so it doesn't look too heavy.
And then I actually really like that. That's a couple of, 10 and a bit inch screens?
Yeah,
but they're put together. So it looks like it looks quite techy, doesn't it? It looks quite technological and fun.
And the same with the steering wheel, again, how the two-tone carries on with the steering wheel.
That level
and all
of detail's good.
Buttons here.
It's really good. And there's organ stop switches down here, which is a bit like a Mini, though they are a little bit... You know when something... They look like metal, but they feel like plastic. They very much feel like plastic. Chromed plastic. Does that bother you?
No, I don't actually.
It bothers me a little bit. Mind you, it's got a decent little glove box there, which is important for you and your gloves. I know that much.
I wish I had gloves right now. That's a bit small.
It's a bit small. But this gets standard wireless charging.
Yes.
I really like it. I think you're right. I think this is better than the MG4 quite easily.
As far as kit goes, it's better than the SE MG4, but about the same as the MG4 Trophy. So in the Funky Cat First Edition, you get keyless entry, voice control, facial recognition that sets up the car for specific people without having to mess around with all the buttons, sat-nav, a wireless phone charger, a 360-degree camera, but no heated seats or wheel. There's also an Ora app like the MG, so that's covered. And yes, it gets 5 stars on the standard test for safety.
Yeah, it's a bit more designery than the MG, certainly got a bit more swagger to it. But there are a couple of other issues. The back seats on the Ora Cat aren't that big, and the boot is actually quite small. At 228 litres, it's some way less useful than the MG4, and even with the seats folded, only offers 858 litres. If it's a space race, the MG has the cat licked.
When it comes to range and charging, the Ora really isn't leading the way either. There's a relatively small 47.8 kilowatt-hour battery that offers just 193 miles of range. Now that's roughly equivalent to about 4 miles per kilowatt-hour, which is fine in terms of efficiency, but as we know, in the real world that's going to be less, and probably not quite enough for real convenience, especially if you're using this as a city car and don't have convenient home charging. It doesn't get much better with the charging scores either. There's 11 kilowatt AC charging, which is fine, but only 64 kilowatt of DC ability, which means that even on a rapid charger, you're looking at 47 minutes to charge the battery from 10% to 80%. That's far away from the class average and only adds 115 miles of range. Yes, you may well charge at home overnight a lot, but quick charging is something that we should expect these days. It frees up charging points for all of us, if nothing else. Oh, and that's about 7 hours 45 on a home wall box for your reference.
You can't argue with the MG in this case, and it's all about raw numbers. With a 61.7 kWh battery, the MG4 SE Long Range posts up an official WLTP range of 281 miles. Like we said, that's 88 more than the Ora Funky Cat. You'll notice that difference every time you don't have to charge. Okay, so there's only 7 kilowatt AC charging on board, but with 135 kilowatt DC fast charging, the MG4 can take advantage of bigger charging stations. Stick it on a proper rapid and it'll get from 10 to 80% in just 35 minutes. That's 12 minutes faster than the Ora. But more significantly, it adds more miles as well. 155 miles plays 115. So you'll spend less time charging in the MG4 and you get more range to boot. Okay, so it takes longer flat to full on the average home wall box at 10 hours, but it should. It's a bigger battery that offers more.
Now, one of the interesting things about the Ora Funky Cat is that it's actually a co-production between the Chinese parent company Great Wall Motors and BMW. In fact, the next generation of BMW Mini is basically the same underneath as the Cat. So you'd think that would bode well, wouldn't it? I mean, after all, there is one thing that the Mini does very well, and that is drive. And yet this Funky Cat is fine, but it's probably not one to write home about. Now, that's not to say it's in any way bad, but with just under 170 brake horsepower and 0 to 62 miles per hour of 8.3 seconds, this cat, well, it ain't no cheater, is it? You know, it's perky enough, it is absolutely capable of doing your day-to-day driving. But when I first tested this, I thought it was a solid car, but probably not one that you would get up early to, you know, go for a lovely little weekend drive in. And to be honest, my opinion hasn't really changed. You know, the thing is, a Mini, it can make a front-wheel drive car feel kind of like a go-kart, really. It's super reactive, it's really fun to drive, whereas this is just, it's quite safe, to be honest. It's maybe a little bit bland, which isn't what I'm looking for a car. However, maybe it's what you're looking for a car. I don't know. The world is made up of lots of different opinions. Maybe you don't want to be driving a go-kart around at the weekend, and actually something bland and safe and secure is exactly what you're looking for. Then maybe it is for you. Am I being a bit harsh? Well, maybe, but you know, the steering's fine, the brakes are fine, the regen is fine. It is completely fine. Now, even when I change the drive modes, it doesn't really spice things up. So I'm currently in eco mode. That's auto. Got a little bit more power there. Normal. Right. Sport mode. Come on! Yeah, it's not a Mini. It's interesting sport mode. Didn't really notice the difference.
Aha! I do have another ace up my MG4 shaped sleeve, and that is the way that the 4 actually drives. Now, unlike the Ora Funky Cat, this car is rear-wheel drive, which tends to feel a little bit more sporty, and you definitely feel it in this car. Interestingly, it's got a little bit more power than the Ora, at just over 200 brake horsepower, but because it's got a bigger battery and therefore weighs a little bit more, it gets from 0 to 62 in about 7.9 seconds, so it's not that much quicker. But that's not where the fun bit comes. I think the trick is in the steering. Now, the MG4 has really fast, quick steering, which makes the car feel very lively. With perfect 50-50 weight distribution and this like aggressive steering, which you can set from the different modes, by the way, it actually makes the car quite a good laugh to drive. I mean, you can set different modes from in the touchscreen, which you can incidentally put on one of the favourite buttons on the steering wheel, but you've got Snow, Eco, Normal, Sport and Custom. Now, if you're in Sport, you actually do have quite a reactive front end, so the car feels like it's diving at a corner, but if you knock it back slightly into Normal, it still feels quite rapid. And the way that it delivers power through the rear wheels means that the car, it just has more of a sporting intent. Okay, so it is a little bit noisy on some surfaces. I can definitely hear some rumbling from the back wheel arches. It sounds like it's quite echoey in there, needs a bit more sound deadening in places. But overall, I can't get over how nice the MG4 feels. Now, I drove these on the launch a few months ago. I haven't driven one for a couple of months, and I actually do feel like it makes a lot of sense. It's actually not aggressive, but it's quite feelsome and fun. They've obviously done a lot of tuning for UK roads, and it's made a big difference. It's very snowy here today. There's lots of black ice and stuff, and it doesn't feel like the car is going to do anything scary or unwanted. It just feels very stable and secure. But when you go a little bit faster, it's got more sporting sort of nous than the Ora Funky Cat, which is very safe. But do you know what? I think it's getting to the point where I'm just nitpicking, really. You know, I would like a little bit more comfort in the comfort modes. I would like perhaps a little bit more sound deadening. I'm just really surprised at how well the MG4 drives, especially on a British B road, especially when it's low grip and everything's a bit scary and everyone's driving really slowly. I know that driving dynamism isn't a be-all and end-all for an electric hatchback like this, but it's certainly a massive bonus when this is the car that you drive every day. You know, it makes a difference. You can have a laugh in an MG4, which is quite nice, really.
So what else is there? Oh, I know what we can talk about. Warranties. So the Ora Cat actually comes with a pretty decent 5-year unlimited mileage warranty, not to be sniffed at.
That sounds pretty good. Until you find out that the MG actually comes with a 7-year fully transferable warranty that's good for 100,000 miles, which, if I do some mental arithmetic, works out at 14.2 thousand miles per year, which should be enough for anybody. Also, the MG can tow, which that can't.
Another double nail in the coffin against the Ora Cat. This is not looking good. Okay, let's get down to it, because ultimately the MG4 is pretty much better on all accounts, particularly when it comes down to the practical stuff. I mean, it's cheaper, even in the Trophy version with all the extras, it's 500 quid cheaper.
Yes.
It's got better range, it's got better charging.
It's faster, it's got more practical space. I actually think it drives a lot better than the Funky Cat does. I just think it's a much better, more rounded car.
Yeah, I think, do you know what? I think we were really excited about the Funky Cat because when we first heard about it, it was supposed to be super cheap and come with all the options. Yes. But actually it's now come to market and it's not quite that. It's a little bit more expensive. It doesn't necessarily come with everything. And I think if you're willing to take a gamble on a new brand that you've never heard of before, then there's got to be a reason, right? Why are you going to take the plunge?
Yeah.
And I've also come to the conclusion that if you name a car funky, I feel like that adjective says it all and is actually a perfect summary of this car.
I agree with you.
Funky, like, bless my mum, but my mum uses that adjective when, you know, I buy a cool pair of shoes. She's like, they're funky. And that is kind of how I see this car. It is funky, it's fun. It's funky, but do you want to be fun and funky or do you want to be like cool and...
I already am quite fun and funky, but do you know one of the reasons to buy that? Actually, you do know. It's that you can get them, can't you?
Yes, that is a really, really good point. So there is availability. You can actually get one within 2 weeks, which is kind of impossible at the moment if you want a brand new EV. So yeah, to be fair to them, they've got supply. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah. Well,
no, they've actually done. No, to be fair, no, they have done really well in terms of getting this car out to market. So there is supply available.
You can get one on your drive in 2 weeks, which is a big deal. Now there is still supply on MG4s. You can get them. It's a little bit longer than for an Ora Funky Cat. I just think this is a more grown-up car. It offers a lot more.
I think if we take everything into account, we have one clear winner. And it has to be the MG4, doesn't it? Yes. I tried. I did try with our little Funky Cat, but I mean, I should have known really at the beginning of the shoot. I am actually allergic to cats, so I think that says it all.
So there you have it, MG4 beats the Funky Cat. There are more versions of the Ora on the way, including a longer range 63 kWh version, so we'll wait to see if the Cat can claw back some bonus points as the new models arrive. But in the meantime, if you need to know anything about the cars featured today, or anything else electric based, then pop over to electrifying.com and we'll help you sift through the details.